The prime rib sat untouched on my plate. Around the table, my family was in full celebration mode, champagne flowing, laughter echoing off Mom's good china. My brother Marcus stood at the head of the table, wine glass raised, cheeks flushed with triumph and alcohol. "To my expansion," he announced. 3 new locations by spring. The Thompson name is finally going places. Dad clapped. Mom beamed. My sister Amanda raised her glass with an indulgent smile. I stayed silent, cutting my Brussels sprouts into smaller and smaller pieces. "What about you, Claire?" Marcus turned to me, that familiar condescension dripping from every word. "Still just a secretary at First National?" The table went quiet for half a second before the laughter started. Not cruel laughter exactly. Worse. Pitying laughter. The kind reserved for family members who never quite measure up. "Administrative assistant," I corrected quietly. Right. Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Answering phones, scheduling meetings. Important work, I'm sure." More laughter. "I mean, someone has to do it. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur." My fork scraped against the plate. The sound cut through the dining room like nails on a chalkboard, but no one seemed to notice. "How long have you been there now?" Amanda chimed in. 15 years. 17, I said. 17 years. Marcus slapped the table. "It is Claire. Most people get promoted in that time. Or at least switch companies. Are you waiting for a gold watch?" Dad cleared his throat. "Now, Marcus." "No, seriously, Dad. I'm worried about her." Marcus leaned forward, his expression shifting to mock concern. "Claire, you're 42 years old. You make what, 45,000 a year? 50? How are you even surviving? Are you still renting that apartment in the old district?" "I own my place," I said. "A condo?" Amanda asked, eyebrows raised. "That's great, Claire. Good for you. Not a condo. A brownstone. 3 stories, fully renovated, worth $1.2 million. But I didn't correct her. "The point is," Marcus continued, gaining momentum, "I'm opening 3 new restaurant locations. 3. The flagship downtown is already pulling $2.3 million annually. The expansion loan just got approved. $800,000 from First National, actually. Ironic, right? Your bank is funding my success." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. "Maybe Claire processed the paperwork," Amanda joked. "Did you, Claire? Did you schedule the meetings for Marcus's loan?" "Something like that," I murmured. Marcus laughed, that booming sound that had always filled rooms and demanded attention. "Can you imagine? My little sister typing up my loan documents and I'm out here building an empire. Life's funny." My phone buzzed again. Then again. "Someone popular tonight?" Mom asked, nodding toward my pocket. I pulled out my phone. 3 texts from Richard Chin, Senior Vice President of Commercial Lending at First National Bank. The preview of the last one read, "Claire, need to discuss Marcus Thompson's application. Concerns have been." "Excuse me," I said, standing. "I need to take this. On Christmas." Mom protested. "Work emergency," I said, already walking toward the hallway. I answered on the 4th ring. "Richard. Merry Christmas." "Claire, I'm so sorry to bother you tonight." Richard's voice was tight with stress. "But we have a situation with the Thompson application. The one you flagged for secondary review." Behind me in the dining room, I could hear Marcus launching into another story about his restaurant empire. His voice carried, confident and loud. "What kind of situation?" I asked, though I already knew. The forensic accountant finished the deep dive. "The numbers don't add up. The flagship location, he's reporting $2.3 million annually, but the actual bank statements show $1.1 million. Revenue inflation of over 100%. The tax returns don't match the loan application financials." I leaned against the hallway wall. The Christmas tree lights blinked in the living room, red and green reflecting off the hardwood floors. "And the collateral?" I asked. He listed the flagship restaurant building as owned property. "It's leased. The lease has 6 months remaining with no renewal option. He's got $340,000 in undisclosed credit card debt across 7 cards. Claire, if we'd funded this loan, we would have been exposed to significant loss," I finished. "Exactly. I'm pulling the approval." But I wanted to run it by you first since you're the SVP of commercial lending and it's your portfolio. Through the doorway, I watched Marcus gesture grandly, probably describing his vision for the new locations. My family hung on every word. Pull it, I said. And Richard? Run a full audit on the existing business line of credit. If he's inflating revenue on the expansion application, I want to know what else isn't adding up. Understood. Again, I'm sorry about Christmas. Don't be. You did the right thing calling me. I hung up and stood in the hallway for a long moment. 17 years at First National Bank. Started as a loan processor at 25. Underwriter at 28. Loan officer at 32. Assistant vice president at 36. Senior vice president of commercial lending at 39. I approved or denied every commercial loan over $500,000. My portfolio controlled $340 million in business lending. I'd built relationships with 127 businesses in this city, knew their financials better than they did, and had a default rate of 0.3%, the lowest in the region. And my family thought I scheduled meetings. I walked back to the dining room. Marcus was mid-sentence, describing the menu for his planned Italian concept. Everything okay? Mom asked as I sat down. Fine, I said, picking up my fork. My phone rang. Not a text. A call. Richard again. I'm so sorry, I said to the table, standing again. I really need to take this. This time I walked into the kitchen, closing the door behind me. Richard. Claire, he's calling the bank. Marcus Thompson. He's on the emergency line right now, demanding to speak to whoever's in charge of his loan. He's screaming at the night manager about the approval being pulled. I glanced at the closed kitchen door. The dining room had gone quiet. Transfer him to my cell, I said. Are you sure? It's Christmas and he's your. Transfer him, Richard. The line clicked. Silence. Then, this is Marcus Thompson and I need to speak to someone in charge right now. Some incompetent idiot just sent me an email saying my loan is denied. Denied. Do you understand how many strings I pulled to get this approval? Do you know who I am? Mr. Thompson, I said calmly. This is Claire Thompson, Senior Vice President of Commercial Lending at First National Bank. The line went dead silent. Claire. His voice had changed entirely. Smaller. The loan has been denied due to material misrepresentation of financial information on the application. Revenue inflation, undisclosed debt and false collateral claims constitute fraud under federal lending law. Wait. Claire, this is a misunderstanding. The forensic accounting report is comprehensive. You claimed annual revenue of $2.3 million. Actual revenue, $1.1 million. You listed the flagship building as owned property. It's leased with 6 months remaining. You failed to disclose $340,000 in credit card debt. Through the kitchen door I heard movement in the dining room. Chairs scraping. Voices rising. I can explain all of that, Marcus said, desperation creeping into his tone. The revenue number was a projection, not current revenue. The building, I'm in negotiations to purchase. The credit cards are business expenses that will be paid off with the loan. Projections are clearly marked as projections on loan applications. They're not listed as current annual revenue. The building is not in negotiations according to the property owner we contacted. An undisclosed debt is undisclosed debt, regardless of payment intentions. Claire. His voice dropped to a whisper. Please. I'm your brother. The kitchen door opened. Dad stood there, confusion on his face. Behind him, Mom and Amanda hovered. That's exactly why I flagged your application for the most thorough review possible, I said into the phone. I don't approve loans based on family relationships. I approve them based on financial viability and borrower integrity. Your application fails on both counts. You flagged me. The whisper turned sharp. You did this on purpose? I did this professionally. If you'd submitted accurate information, you'd have your loan. You chose to commit fraud instead. Fraud? I'm your brother. And you're also a loan applicant who lied on a federal banking document. The existing business line of credit is under audit as of tonight. If we find similar discrepancies, we'll be calling the full balance due immediately. That's $180,000, payable within 30 days. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. Heavy, panicked breaths. "You're destroying me," he whispered. "No, Marcus. You destroyed yourself. I'm just doing my job." I hung up. Dad stared at me. "Claire, what just happened?" Marcus applied for an $800,000 business expansion loan. He lied on the application, inflated revenue, claimed he owned property he doesn't, hid significant debt. The loan was denied. Standard procedure. "You denied your own brother's loan?" Amanda's voice was sharp with disbelief. "I denied a fraudulent application. The fact that the applicant is my brother is irrelevant." Irrelevant. Mom's hand flew to her chest. "Claire, he's family. He's trying to build something. You of all people should understand struggle." "I understand fraud," I said calmly. "What I don't understand is why everyone in this family thinks I spend my days scheduling meetings and answering phones." The silence in the kitchen was absolute. "I'm the senior vice president of commercial lending at First National Bank," I continued. "I have been for 3 years. I oversee a portfolio of $340 million in business loans. Every commercial loan over $500,000 in this region crosses my desk. I approve them or I deny them based on financial merit and risk assessment." Dad's face had gone pale. "Senior vice president? My base salary is $185,000. With performance bonuses I cleared $240,000 last year. I own my brownstone outright. Paid $680,000, it's now worth $1.2 million. I'm not struggling, Dad. I haven't been struggling for a very long time." Amanda found her voice first. "Why didn't you tell us?" "I did tell you. Multiple times. You weren't listening." I looked at each of them in turn. 2 Christmases ago I mentioned my promotion. Marcus said I was exaggerating. Last year I tried to explain my role. Mom changed the subject to Amanda's vacation. 3 months ago at Dad's birthday, I started to talk about a major deal I'd closed. Marcus interrupted to talk about his restaurant receipts being up. "But you said you were an administrative assistant," Mom protested weakly. "No. You assumed I was an administrative assistant. You've been assuming for 17 years. I stopped correcting you when I realized none of you actually cared what I did for a living. You just needed someone at the table to be less successful than Marcus." Marcus appeared in the doorway, phone still clutched in his hand. His face was red, eyes wild. "You vindictive bitch," he hissed. "You've hated my success from day one. This is revenge. This is consequences," I said, my voice level. "You committed loan fraud. If you'd submitted accurate financials showing $1.1 million in revenue and a realistic expansion plan, we could have worked with that. But you got greedy. You inflated numbers, lied about assets and hoped no one would check. The flagship is successful. The concept works. The flagship is marginally profitable and heavily leveraged. The expansion plan was financially unsound even with accurate numbers. With fraudulent numbers it was catastrophic. Marcus, if we'd approved that loan, you would have defaulted within 8 months. We would have seized whatever collateral we could, which is nothing because you don't actually own anything, and you'd be bankrupt. So instead you're bankrupting me yourself." His voice cracked. "The audit on my credit line? Calling the full balance. You're trying to destroy me." "I'm trying to protect my bank's assets. If you've been honest on the existing loan, the audit will reflect that and the line of credit continues. If you haven't, then yes, we'll call it due. That's not revenge, Marcus. That's banking." He stared at me, chest heaving. "I don't even know who you are anymore. You never knew who I was. None of you did." I looked around the kitchen at my family. You saw what you wanted to see. The struggling little sister. The one who never quite made it. The administrative assistant who answered phones while Marcus built his empire. "We never meant," Dad started. "Yes, you did. You meant every bit of it. Every joke, every dismissive comment, every time you talked over me or interrupted me or changed the subject when I tried to share my life. You meant it." I grabbed my coat from the hall closet. "Claire, don't leave like this," Mom pleaded. "It's Christmas. It's Christmas and my brother called me just a secretary at dinner. It's Christmas and all of you laughed. It's Christmas and not one of you thought to ask what I actually do for a living, what I've accomplished or whether I might be happy." I pulled on my coat, the cashmere soft and warm. A gift to myself last year. $800. Marcus had asked if it was from the clearance rack. For what it's worth, I said, hand on the doorknob. The brownstone where I live alone. I bought it from the Thompson Family Trust. The one Grandpa set up. I was the only grandchild who qualified for the trustee loan because I was the only one with a stable financial history and credit score above 750. I've been paying it back at 2% interest for 6 years. I have 3 years left. Amanda's mouth fell open. The trust gave you money? The trust gave me a loan. Which I'm repaying. With interest. Unlike Marcus, I understand how loans work. I opened the door. Cold December air rushed in sharp and clean. Merry Christmas, I said and walked out into the night. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Richard. Full audit initiated on Thompson business line. Preliminary findings concerning. We'll have full report Monday. Enjoy your holiday if you can. I sat in the driver's seat, engine running, heat slowly filling the cabin. Christmas lights glowed in the windows of my parents' house. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. My family probably still standing in the kitchen trying to process what had just happened. The thing about being underestimated is that it gives you space to work. For 17 years I'd been building something. A career, a reputation, a financial foundation that most people spend a lifetime trying to achieve. And while my family was busy not paying attention, I'd quietly become the most successful Thompson of my generation. Not that it was a competition. But if it had been, I'd won years ago. I drove home through empty streets, past houses lit up with holiday decorations. My brownstone was dark when I arrived, but I'd left the tree lights on a timer. They clicked on as I unlocked the door, bathing the entryway in warm white light. I poured myself a glass of wine, a $90 bottle I'd been saving, and sat in my living room. The space was mine. Every piece of furniture chosen carefully, every paint color deliberated over, every shelf stocked with books I actually wanted to read. No compromises, no shared decisions, no one else's opinion. My phone rang at 11:47 p.m. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again at 11:52 p.m. That voicemail. At 11:58 p.m. a text from Mom. We need to talk about this. You're being unreasonable. I blocked the number. At midnight I raised my glass to the empty room. Merry Christmas to me. The loan denial would stand. The audit would find what I already knew it would find. More inflated numbers, more undisclosed debt, more evidence that Marcus had been playing fast and loose with financial reality for years. The credit line would be called. He'd scramble for alternative funding and find that no serious bank would touch him with a 10-foot pole, not after First National's audit report hit the credit agencies. His empire would crumble. Not because I'd destroyed it, but because it had been built on sand and lies from the beginning. Me. I'd go back to work on Monday. I'd review loan applications, analyze financial statements, protect my bank's assets, and continue building the quiet, stable, successful life I'd created. The life my family had been too busy dismissing to notice. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Richard. Thompson audit complete. Recommend calling full credit line immediately. Details Monday. Thanks for protecting the bank on this one. I smiled and took another sip of wine. Some people build empires. Other people approve the loans that make empires possible. Or deny the ones that would destroy them. My family thought I was just a secretary. Turns out I was the one holding all the keys.